You think just because you wear a nice coat, you can stand here and demand respect? Look at you. Don't waste my time. People like you don't belong in a store like this. The store manager's words cracked through the air like a whip, slicing the silence of the crowded aisle. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, and every pair of eyes in that store shifted toward the confrontation. The man he spoke to didn't raise his voice. He didn't push back. His skin was deep brown, his beard trimmed neatly, and his eyes carried both dignity and exhaustion. His accent was faint, touched by years of living in different countries. He adjusted the cuffs of his dark jacket slowly, his voice calm, deliberate, unshaken by the insults raining down. I came here to buy. That's all. Nothing more, nothing less. But sometimes, respect is worth more than any price tag, the crowd murmured. Some turned away, pretending to browse shelves of fruit and cereal boxes. Others stayed, watching, waiting, hungry for drama. The store manager, tall, heavy-set, his tie loose around his thick neck, stepped closer. His jaw tightened. He wasn't used to being challenged, especially not by someone he already decided was beneath him. You think you can stand here in my store and lecture me? His voice rose. You're lucky I even let you in here. People like you cause problems. The man raised his hand slightly, palm outward, as if to stop the storm without aggression. Don't finish that sentence. Not because I can't bear it, but because you'll regret the weight of your own words. Gasps rippled through the crowd. A young woman near the produce section whispered to her friend, "Did he just threaten the manager?" But the man's eyes didn't flash with anger. Instead, they held an extraordinary steadiness, the kind you only see in someone who knows the value of silence, who understands power doesn't always need to shout. The manager sneered. He leaned in close, and in one reckless move, his palm swung sharply across the man's face. The sound echoed like thunder. The crowd froze. The man's head tilted slightly from the impact, but he didn't stumble. His hand slowly came up to his cheek, his expression unreadable. His silence in that moment was heavier than 100 angry shouts. And then he smiled. Not bitterly, not mockingly, but with a calmness that unsettled everyone in the room. You've just written your own story, he said softly. And the ending. It won't be the one you expect. The crowd erupted in hushed whispers. Some pulled out phones, recording discreetly. Others shook their heads, uncomfortable yet unable to walk away. The manager scoffed, trying to shake off the sudden wave of unease that washed over him. He crossed his arms, barking, "You think your little words mean anything here? This is my store. I make the rules." The man's eyes swept the store slowly, taking in the rows of shelves, the polished floors, the very foundation of the building. His gaze lingered on the logo above the cashier's desk. His logo, his company, his vision, and yet he said nothing. Instead, he reached into his coat pocket, pulling out a simple leather wallet. He opened it, not to reveal money, but a small, polished black card. He held it loosely between two fingers, as if it weighed almost nothing. But everyone watching could sense the gravity of it. The manager's face shifted from arrogance to uncertainty as his eyes caught the card. He recognized it instantly. It wasn't just a card. It was authority. It was ownership. But before that revelation could unfold, the man tucked the card back into his pocket and took a deep breath. "Respect," he said, his voice strong now, carrying over the heads of the onlookers. "It's free to give, yet it seems to cost some people everything they are. I don't need to shout. I don't need to push. Because truth always finds its way to the surface. And when it does, those who've built their pride on disrespect will watch it crumble beneath their feet." The crowd grew still, hanging on each word. One older man whispered to his wife, "There's something about him. He's not just anyone." The store manager barked a laugh, trying to mask the sweat forming on his brow. "You sound like some preacher. Get out of my store before I call security. But the man didn't move. His eyes didn't leave the manager's face. Call them, he said calmly, and when they come, they'll escort the wrong man out. Because truth has a way of unmasking the proud. The tension in the air was suffocating now. Even the hum of the fluorescent light seemed to fade, as though the store itself held its breath. The man finally stepped back, turning his gaze toward the crowd. His voice softened, carrying a warmth that contrasted with the chill of the moment. Every day we walk past people who may be carrying stories we cannot see. We judge them by their clothes, their skin, their accent, their silence. But kindness is the only wealth that never runs out. And cruelty is the only poverty you can never hide. A young boy in the crowd tugged at his mother's sleeve, whispering, "Mama, he's right." The mother nodded slowly, eyes fixed on the man. The manager opened his mouth again, but his voice faltered. For the first time, he felt small. The man adjusted his coat once more, his expression calm but unshakably firm. "I came here as a customer, but today, I've been reminded of something bigger. Power is not in how loud you shout or how hard you strike. Power is in how deeply you stand when the world tries to push you down." The store seemed to tilt in that silence, the moment stretching, pressing, demanding to be remembered. And with that, the man turned and walked toward the exit, leaving behind a silence that felt heavier than thunder. The automatic glass doors slid shut behind him, and the man's footsteps echoed faintly across the parking lot. His silhouette faded into the daylight, leaving behind a store full of people who couldn't shake what they had just witnessed. But inside, the store manager was pacing, tugging at his collar. His face was flushed, his breathing quick, the sting of uncertainty now gnawing at the confidence he had barked out moments before. "What are you all staring at?" he snapped at the onlookers, his voice cracking. "Show's over. Get back to shopping. We don't have time for nonsense." Yet the customers didn't scatter. A few drifted away, but many stayed, their eyes heavy with disapproval. Whispered conversations ran like rivers between the aisles. An elderly woman near the bakery counter spoke up, her voice surprisingly firm for her frail frame. "You crossed a line. No man deserves to be spoken to that way. Not in front of strangers, not anywhere." The manager shot her a glare. "Stay out of it, lady. You don't know who that guy was." Her wrinkled hands gripped her shopping cart tightly as she shook her head. "And neither, it seems, do you." The manager turned away quickly, his jaw tight. He marched toward the staff door at the back of the store, his voice low but urgent as he barked into his walkie-talkie. "Security, keep an eye on that guy if he comes back. He's trouble. Might try to stir things up. Just stay sharp." But even as he said the words, doubt was creeping into his chest. That card the man had pulled out. He had seen one like it once before, during a corporate visit years ago. Executives had walked in with quiet authority, carrying themselves with the same calm weight that man carried. The black card wasn't a customer's loyalty pass, it was something else, something untouchable. He pushed the thought away. Hours later, when the crowd had thinned and the fluorescent hum returned to normal, the assistant manager, a young woman named Layla, approached him cautiously. "Sir," she began, her voice careful, "I think you should know, that man you insulted earlier, the one you slapped, people are saying he might not be just any customer." The manager groaned, rolling his eyes. "Oh, come on, don't start with that nonsense. People love to exaggerate." Layla didn't flinch. She had seen his arrogance too many times before. But something about the man from earlier stuck in her mind like a splinter she couldn't remove. His calmness wasn't ordinary. His silence had felt louder than the slap itself. "He had a presence," she said slowly. "Not the kind that demands attention, but the kind that commands it. You could feel it." The manager shook his head, grabbing a clipboard. "Presence doesn't pay the bills. I don't care if he's some wannabe big shot. He disrespected me, and I put him in his place." Layla's eyes narrowed. Or maybe you just revealed yours? Her words hung heavy in the air before she turned away, leaving him fuming. That night, after the store closed and the neon signs outside flickered off, the manager sat alone in his cramped office. The silence was thick, broken only by the hum of the old ceiling fan. He couldn't stop replaying the man's words. Respect is free to give, yet it seems to cost some people everything they are. He rubbed his temples, trying to shake it off, but the memory of that black card haunted him. Against his better judgment, he opened his laptop and typed into the search bar. Black company card with silver crest logo. Within seconds, articles and images flooded the screen. His stomach dropped. The card belonged to the elite circle of executives and owners of Alhambra Holdings, a global empire of retail, luxury goods, and real estate. The very corporation that owned the chain of stores he managed. And there it was. A name. A face. The billionaire who built the empire from the ground up. A man known for moving silently, walking among people without entourage or fanfare. He was respected not just for his wealth, but for his humility and acts of generosity. Stories whispered about him donating anonymously, helping employees through hard times, showing up where no one expected him. The same face he had slapped hours earlier. The manager's hands trembled on the keyboard. He slammed the laptop shut, his chest tight with panic. No way, he muttered. That can't be him. It just can't. But deep down he knew. The calmness, the authority without arrogance, the way he had smiled after the slap, not with anger, but with certainty. It was him. The next morning, the entire staff buzzed with rumors. Customers had already started sharing blurry videos online. The confrontation was spreading, people talking about the mysterious man who stood with dignity while the store manager humiliated him. Layla approached him again, holding her phone. Sir, it's everywhere. TikTok, Instagram, even Twitter. People are saying he's the owner, that he owns this very store. The manager snatched the phone, scrolling frantically. His heart pounded. Each comment, each repost, each caption carved into him like a blade. Manager slaps the billionaire owner. Lesson in humility. Calm is louder than violence. The manager's skin burned. Sweat dripped down his back. He staggered back into his office, slamming the door shut. His reflection in the glass wall stared back at him, suddenly small, fragile, exposed. For the first time in years, he felt fear. Not the kind that makes you run, but the kind that forces you to see yourself. The kind that strips away every excuse, every layer of arrogance, until only the truth remains. And the truth was this. He hadn't just slapped a man. He had slapped the very hand that fed him. The next afternoon, the store hummed with uneasy tension. Customers moved quietly, staff avoided eye contact, and the weight of yesterday's incident still hung like a shadow in the air. The manager's face was pale. He hadn't slept, his mind racing through every possible outcome. What if the rumors were true? What if the man he had slapped really was the owner? He paced in his office, muttering to himself, rehearsing apologies, but every version sounded empty. Then, just after noon, the sliding doors opened, and he walked back in. The billionaire. Same dark coat, same steady eyes, same quiet presence that seemed to command the air around him. He walked slowly, calmly, as if yesterday's humiliation had never happened. But the silence that spread through the store told another story. Everyone knew now. Whispers rippled through the aisles. Phones were raised discreetly. Employees froze mid-task, their eyes fixed on the man who had become the center of a storm. The manager's throat tightened. He stumbled out of his office, forcing a smile that cracked at the edges. His voice shook as he called out, "Sir, I didn't realize yesterday. Please, let's talk." The billionaire's gaze turned toward him. Not harsh, not cold, but impossibly steady. He walked forward until he stood just a few feet away. The crowd seemed to hold its collective breath. Yesterday, the billionaire began softly, his voice carrying through the room. You showed me who you are when you thought no one was watching. Today, I want to show you who I am. The manager swallowed hard. His voice wavered. I was wrong. I didn't know. The billionaire raised a hand, silencing him. Respect doesn't depend on knowing a man's bank account. It doesn't depend on power or title or wealth. Respect is the one thing you owe every soul you meet, stranger or king. You failed, not because I'm the owner, but because I'm a man you struck without reason. The words cut deeper than any punishment could. The crowd shifted uneasily, some nodding, others whispering agreement. The manager's eyes watered, panic rising. Please, I need this job. Don't ruin me. I have a family. For a long moment, the billionaire simply looked at him. Then he said quietly, You ruined yourself long before I walked into this store. But endings are not written in slaps. They're written in change. The question is, will you? The manager dropped his gaze, shame flooding him. His pride had collapsed, leaving only fragility behind. The billionaire turned away, addressing the entire store. His voice was calm, but every word carried weight. Let this moment remind us, power is not measured by how loud we shout or how hard we strike. It is measured by how deeply we stand in the face of cruelty. Wealth is not counted in dollars, but in kindness. And respect costs nothing, yet it is the greatest treasure you can give. The store was silent now, every soul listening as though the air itself depended on his words. He took a breath, his eyes scanning the crowd, then softened his tone. Think of your daily lives. The cashier at the corner shop, the janitor sweeping the floor at midnight, the driver waiting in the cold, the stranger who doesn't look like you. Every one of them carries a story you don't see, and every one of them deserves dignity. Never let arrogance blind you to humanity. The manager broke down, covering his face with his hands. For once, his voice was small. I understand now. I swear, I'll change. The billionaire gave him one last look, not of pity, not of anger, but of quiet hope. Change, then, not for me, for yourself, for every soul you meet. And with that, he walked toward the doors. The crowd parted silently, heads bowed, eyes wide. The glass doors opened, and he stepped into the sunlight, leaving behind a store forever changed. The silence inside lingered, heavy but cleansing, like rain after a storm. And as the doors closed behind him, one powerful truth remained. Respect costs nothing, but it can change everything. Friends, as you go about your day, remember this simple example. The next time you're in a coffee shop and the barista gets your order wrong, or when a delivery driver arrives late, pause before anger. Choose kindness, because that moment could define not only their day, but yours too. If this story touched your heart, make sure to subscribe to Black Saga. Drop a comment sharing your thoughts and like the video, and share it with someone who needs this reminder today.